Hey everyone, this is HighZealot here and welcome to E2 of the Spring 2016 event. E2 is a sort of a light map, as in you bring a light fleet though. You can bring heavy cruisers, but you cannot bring any capital ships such as battleships or standard aircraft carriers. You can bring pretty much anything else. And most recommendations include aviation heavy cruisers, though I chose not to bring any aviation heavy cruisers because I don't have all 6 of them, because I neglected 2 of them who are in my fleet. They're just not high enough level to be remodeled. So instead I brought in 2 heavy cruisers, Gakko and Miyoko, and they're both relatively decent leveled. I probably could have gotten away with some stronger heavy cruisers, but I wanted to make sure I had some. I saved my strongest for, you never know when I might try something strange, you know, let's say E6 or E5 and bring some, maybe I could try them out there. But no problems here, because you can see they do seem to do fairly well. And aviation cruisers, they honestly, I don't see them providing that big of a difference compared to a heavy cruiser, unless you have a lot of WG-42, the pretty much the rockets launchers that you can equip on destroyers, because I believe you can equip those onto aviation cruisers, and those are useful on this map's boss. So before we get into more topics such as the boss, let's go on to other details of E2. So E2, any ships that are sent to E2 are tagged with a green ship lock. Green ship lock girls, they can also go to E3 and E7, because E7 has no restrictions. So E2 and E3 are shared ship locks, E1, E4 are shared ship locks, as I repeat, and then you got more ship locks afterwards. So E2, you do want to bring a decently strong force, but you do want to, I feel like you would want to save your strongest and brightest for E6 and E5. They may also need some stronger ones. And then your aviation cruisers, I would say if you have 6, bring your worst for E2 and save your best for, I believe, E5 and E6. But other than that, you could get away with bringing heavy cruisers, they work along as well. E3, while it shares the same green ship lock, is considerably, and by considerably I mean a lot, easier than E2. So we've seen the first 2 nodes of E2, that being the A node and that submarine node just there. So node A doesn't seem too threatening from what you saw there, but since you cannot bring a battleship along, you're always going to have 1 shelling phase, and it is very possible for you to get torpedoed into Taiha, and then you pretty much have to be forced to retreat, and likewise, you gotta start over. And then the submarine node, that's node E, is not really a big threat at all. Then you have node I, this heavy cruiser node. There you're probably, in my opinion, I think is your biggest threat possible. So for the most part, until you reach the final kill, you are probably going to make it to the boss. And you can see there the heavy cruisers are just deadly, because they are heavy cruisers, and it's pretty much RNG. You probably would benefit from bringing routing support, but if you do not have the resources to spare, you should be able to get away with saving your route support for the final kill. On the final kill, you absolutely want all supports you can bring. Before the final kill, you don't need boss support, and you really don't need routing support unless you really having trouble. So you can see there, that was a successful to node I, and afterwards it's node G. So in this route we go from node A to node C to node E to node H to node I to node G. So pretty much we start in the southern part Then we go to C, which is active branch. So you can see right here, that's the routing we're going to be taking. And then node G is patrol boats, torpedo boats, imps, pretty much. And they are honestly not that big of a threat. They seem to, at least until the final kill, mostly be in a not very accurate formations, and your destroyers can hit them. Your heavy cruisers seem to be hitting them, even though their English wiki does not seem to suggest that you should bring secondary guns. Though I would say they seem to hit them just fine without any secondary guns, and by just fine I mean more as reliable as a destroyer. And they do seem to have different formations sometimes, such as line ahead, which I saw in the final kill pretty much every time. I don't recall exactly what it was every time, but until then though, you're pretty much fine. And on the final kill, you have routing support anyways. So by going to node A, you pretty much need to have at least one light cruiser and at least 2 destroyers, and you have to have less than 1 light cruiser, light carrier, to go to node A. If everything else goes to node B, and node B is, well, it has a world-class carrier, so you don't want to go there. So now that we're the boss, so we'll start with the boss. Before the final kill, your boss can either be the artillery imp, who only has 130 HP, or the supply depot Hime, who has 600 HP. So you do a lot of different amount of damage based on what you have there. So artillery imps, they are not affected by Type 3 shells. They are affected by the WG-42 rockets that can go on your destroyers, and I believe they're aviation cruisers, and tanks, Daihatsu and the Super Daihatsu, which also has a tank in it. And then that is effectively your best bet at tiers. And supply depot Hime is also affected by those things and the Type 3 shell. So you pretty much want to bring those along. Bring as many of your Super Daihatsu and tanks that you can. I unfortunately did not do the quest chain to unlock the tank, and thankfully I didn't really need it because I had 3 WG-42 rockets to go along here. So before the final kill, you can have either the artillery imp or the supply depot Hime. It's random. So artillery imp is pretty much a guaranteed 130 damage. For the supply depot Hime, you can get up to 600 HP off the boss. And the boss in total on hard has 1500 HP. So it's pretty simple though. You kill it. Night battles, you equip double attack. I find double attack more reliable, especially if you don't have that much of the equipment like tanks. Though you can also equip things such as 1 WG-42 rocket, a Super Daihatsu, and a tank. You should not put 2 of the same types of Daihatsu though onto 1 girl, because they don't really stack. So let's go back to the routing which I was talking about. So node A goes to node C. You saw that was an active branch, but node B is the carrier. So, and the other potential route is to go you can choose to go to node D from node C. Node D is just a maelstrom node, and then node F is pretty much a battleship node with light carriers. So yeah, you do not really want to go there. Node E can lead to the node F if you have any slow ships, except for Mizuho or Akitsushima, or you have more than 2 carriers. I mean, you really should not be bringing battleships or standard carriers. I mean, technically they are allowed, but they're not recommended for obvious reasons. So, and then node E can also lead to node K if your fleet's too heavy, such as you have, I guess, 2 battleships, a battleship and a standard carrier, a torpedo cruiser, no light carriers, and no destroyers. Not sure why the English wiki lists this as, oh no, destroyers. I see now. If you have 1 or less destroyers, then you go to node K. And then to go to node H, you need at least 3 destroyers and a light cruiser. And then no slow ships. And then from there on, it's line of sight checks, which is pretty self-explanatory. You don't really need to actually check how much line of sight you have. You should pretty much go there regardless. So the recommended, I've already talked about the recommended is you bring on aviation cruisers. You can also change an aviation cruiser for one light carrier, which may help you make it to the boss before the final kill. But for the final kill, you really want some sort of heavy cruiser and no light carriers for that extra killing potential. Then you saw earlier, and you saw there the boss support, is a carrier type air style boss support because, well, because I can, and more importantly, it appears to have been buffed quite considerably, and I believe, if I recall correctly, I think it's, I mean, arguably that's, at this point, there's not much difference between a shelling support and air support, except technically now you're more likely to use air support than shelling support because it appears the later bosses seems to be more weak to that, especially E6. And if I recall correctly, I think, do not quote me on this, but I think air support is actually more accurate against the torpedo imps. I'm not sure though. Regardless, you may as well just bring either, you could bring shelling support if you really want to, ID if you don't have enough bauxite. Though I'm not sure why you would not have enough bauxite, because pretty much no event has been more intense on your bauxite instead of the other resources. Theoretically, this event should cost you more bauxite than other events because of the you'll see later on the airfields, which will be shown in the later maps, but they don't get introduced for a while. But yeah, you do want to have support for the final kill, because getting to the final kill is a lot hard. Because you see here, this node that we just beat has a light carrier, which means their heavy cruisers get artillery spotting used against you. So you really want that air support or shelling support, whatever one you're using, to kill anything, so you hopefully don't get destroyed by those heavy cruisers. Though unfortunately those heavy cruisers do attack first. I mean, and by attack first I mean they attack before their own destroyers because of their range. So other than that though, you make sure your running support is sparkle to all of them, not just your flagship. Boss support, only your flagship needs to be sparkled, but for routing support, you want your entire fleet to be sparkled so they have the best chance of showing up in every single node. And you'll see here, against these torpedo imps, they are very good against these torpedo imps. And then, yeah, you see there, I changed up my heavy cruisers, I took rid of their secondary guns, equipped them with full-on main guns, and gave Jinsu the yellow guns instead. And then after this, it's on to the boss, where we're gonna be seeing the supply depot Hime for the first time, even though she does appear before the final kill. Before the final kill, she has 600 HP. On the final kill, I'm not sure if it's just hard, but it may be other difficulties, she has 480 HP. So, I'm not sure what happens when the boss reaches less than 600, but assuming it's like previously, you go to the final formation even if you cannot actually kill her on the final formation, as in bring her HP to 0, because she has like 599 but only 480. So, pretty much simple supply depot Hime. Her boss is a bit difficult. You do want to bring boss support because the artillery imps and her herself can do a lot of damage, and they attack 6 times. So you can try to take them out beforehand and also do a bit of damage from your support. Every bit pretty much helps. You have a lot easier time with this if you have like more tanks or more super daihatsu, because they are really effective. And I'm not sure if you've seen any of those pictures of those super crits with, let's say, I believe probably WG, gun, rockets, the Super Daihatsu, and tank all down one. The potential crit for that is simply like 400 something in day. So you would benefit from doing that. And honestly, if you do the tank, the quest chain to get a free tank, you should really do that. Honestly, don't do as I say, not as I do, and just, you know, kill the boss. Have a lot easier time. Though in later maps, it's not as necessary, unfortunately. So mainly E2. Though WG 42 rockets are only the biggest thing you need for the later maps, and I believe you can farm them in E3 because U drops there, and she's supposed to be a fairly high drop. But now, watch me as I kill the boss, because she's gonna be dead in a few moments. Whoop, so that was E2, pretty much. And E2 has a number of different rewards. Rewards for all difficulties will give you a furniture fairy, which you can use for good furniture that looks nice. And then higher difficulties gain better stuff, which I'll talk about soon. But let's go over ship drops. You can get Mario from node F, and then a whole bunch of rare destroyers from the boss. Kashima also drops from the boss as well. Terasuki drops there too. But yeah, let's go on to the actual rewards now. So yes, you're gonna see soon. That is a Type 1 land attacker, which is a land-based aircraft, which will be used in E4, and E7, and E5, and that is a Type 96 land attacker. Only on hard do you get the Type 1. On medium you just get 2 Type 96s, and on easy you just get 1 Type 96. Hard you also get 2 reinforcement expansions that lets you pretty much have an extra slot for, let's say, a repair team. This is my support fleet. If I recall correctly, you have to pretty much bring all dive bombers on your boss support so they can hit the land installation, but do not quote me on that. You probably want to have your destroyers, I know, and your carriers probably equipped with more radar for the actual accuracy, and radar does seem to be the common support thing that works. But other than that, this is pretty much E2. Before the final kill, you're gonna have a really easy time reaching the boss and doing enough damage to her that you actually accomplish something. But on the final kill, you do really want to bring route support and boss support. You do not have to use aviation cruisers, as you see right here. You can use heavy cruisers, and I recommend you use heavy cruisers if you do not have 6 aviation cruisers. If you have 6 aviation cruisers, levels don't really matter, just bring whoever's lowest level for E2 and E3. And then E3 you are gonna have heavy cruisers along with your aviation cruisers. But we'll talk more about that on E3. I'll see you guys then, and good night.